نستضيف الليلة في سكاي نيوز عربية مورغان أورتاغوس نائبة المبعوث الأمريكي الخاص للشرق الأوسط، ونسألها عن تطورات هذه الزيارة، نتائجها، وطبعا المواقف الأمريكية بخصوص التطورات السياسية الأمنية وحتى الاقتصادية في لبنان. أهلا بك مورغان معنا في سكاي نيوز عربية. وصفت الزيارة الأخيرة إلى لبنان واللقاءات اللي أجريتيها هناك بالبناءة. ماذا عن نتائج هذه الزيارة؟
Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on Sky News Arabia. It's great to be in the UAE. I love being here. I told the foreign minister every time I land in Abu Dhabi, it's kind of like a sigh of relief because it feels like home. I've been in and out of this region for so long. Of course, I was in Lebanon before I came here to the MEET conference, and I have a very good relationship there. There's a lot of ongoing dialogue, and really, as I said, my very first there as Deputy Special Envoy to the Middle East, the whole point of us going and engaging is because we see this really historic opportunity to turn Lebanon around. I think that there's so many patriots who have stepped up to try and make the hard and tough changes to change the country. So that's, of course, President Aoun, the Prime Minister, the Cabinet. You know, the leaders of Lebanon have to listen to the people of Lebanon. And I think the people of Lebanon are saying that they want change. You know, we can't sugarcoat the dire financial situation Lebanon is in. It is one of the worst that we've seen in modern history. I mean, we're talking about debt levels worse than what we saw with Greece during the financial crisis. The country's bankrupt. Now, I say that not to be mean, but because I'm a friend. I'm a big, big believer in Lebanon. I'm a huge believer in the Lebanese people. And I want to see this beautiful country return to the height of its glory days. And the only way that you could do that is by being honest about the situation that you're in, by getting rid of the people who profit off of a corrupt system, and by promoting people who want to make the real and necessary changes. Things like passing the bank secrecy law, the bank resolution law, and really what we have to do is work together as friends and as partners to move Lebanon from being, you know, this country that is begging for donations at the World Bank. That's not where Lebanon needs to be. This is some of the most educated and sophisticated diaspora in the entire world. They should be leading the Middle East again in consulting and financial services. I know that because of how successful the Lebanese people are, if their government will do the right thing, that we can get back there. But sometimes you have to take some really tough medicine in order to get well. Lebanon is in a period where they have to swallow the tough medicine if they're going to become whole again.
الشيء الملفت مورغان انه رئيس مجلس النواب نبيه بري قال انه هذه الزيارة كانت إيجابية بخلاف الزيارات السابقة او اللقاء السابق. ما الذي اختلف؟
Oh goodness, I think that he understands that the Trump administration actually has a vision to help his people. I mean, all of the people of Lebanon, but especially the people in the South that he represents. And what I've described to him is let's rethink how we rebuild southern Lebanon. You know, there's so many needs in the Middle East right now, unfortunately, for rebuilding. Syria, southern Lebanon, Gaza. It's going to take billions and billions of dollars to rebuild the Middle East from the wars. And so what I'm thinking about is, from a private sector perspective, how do we do something new and different? How do we not just repeat the things that we did after 2006, but how do we present a bright future, get the young people involved in rebuilding? And so I would like to get the private sector together from all of our countries. Again, so you're not having Lebanon just take on more and more debt from the World Bank. But instead, how do we look at the private sector initiative? Maybe it's an economic industrial zone. That's just one idea. But what do we do to really revolutionize the South? What we desperately need in southern Lebanon is for people to have confidence in the state. The state has to provide the essential services. They've got to feel a connection to being not just a part of the South in their village, but being a part of the whole of Lebanon. And they're only going to feel that way if the state can step up and provide essential services, schools, houses, roads, healthcare. And the only way they're going to do any of that and get international funding, again, is going back to making those necessary reforms and changes. But what I want for Lebanon is not to be a donor country, not to be a country that has their hand out asking for money. I want them to be a leader again in the Middle East, a leader in financial services and education and culture and everything that we know Lebanon for. And in order to do that, you have to bring everybody along. So we know that we have to help the Lebanese government win the hearts and minds of the people in southern Lebanon so that they're relying on the state, they're relying on the government and not on any other outside actors or entities to provide those services.
لكن مورغان نبيه بري قال أنك أتيت هذه المرة بمقاربة مختلفة ولم تتحدثي عن موضوع التطبيع.
I don't think we talked about that the first time either. So I don't think there's any difference there. I don't think that was brought up in the first meeting. I think sometimes you just have to get to know each other. Listen, the United States has very high expectations of him and all of the leaders in Lebanon. I'm not there to represent myself or my opinion. I'm there to represent President Trump. And the Trump
وضوح من الدولة اللبنانية بدورة نزع سلاح كل الأسلحة الموجودة بين أيدي أي مجموعات في الداخل اللبناني، لكن حصرت ذلك بوقت سريع، قلت إنه ذلك يجب أن يتم سريعا. لماذا لم تحدد مهلة زمنية واضحة لتحقيق ذلك؟
Well, I guess there was a little bit of a timeline established in the cessation of hostilities that the Biden administration helped broker in November of last year. Unfortunately, we're not totally there yet, but I think that's something where we can get there. Remember that we have U.S. assistance, U.S. training, U.S. equipment. So we've been committed to the LAF, but we really want them to step up and really fulfill what President Aoun said in his inaugural speech. In his inaugural speech, he said that nobody would have arms but the state. So whatever groups that is, it's important that Lebanon is able, that the Lebanese people are able to live peacefully with their neighbors. They want that. Who doesn't want to live in peace? And the only way that the Lebanese people will be able to live in peace is if they reject the Islamic Republic of Iran or anybody coming in with weapons to foment fear, to foment unrest, to foment wars with their neighbors. I mean, listen, it's not the Lebanese government or the Lebanese people that wanted to be involved in the war after October 7th. It was Hezbollah, it was Iran that got the country into a war that nobody wanted to be in, and then the South was destroyed because of it. So again, I'm hoping that people will look and see that there is a better and brighter future if you reject outside forces and forces of terrorism that just want to continue to sow unrest and destruction for the country.
لكنك اعتبرتي أن الجيش اللبناني هو المسؤول عن نزع سلاح حزب الله، لكن هل قدرات المؤسسة العسكرية، هل قدرات الجيش اللبناني تسمح بذلك الآن؟
They're absolutely capable. They need the political will to do so. I certainly understand that, the whole society obviously has to be involved. They have an obligation to do so, first in the cessation of the hostilities, but also if you look at the UN Resolution 1701. So Lebanon has committed multiple times into doing this. I think the LAF has the capability. Now they just need the political will.
الإرادة السياسية حتى هذه اللحظة من التصريحات اللبنانية واضح أنها موجودة مورغان، لكن اليوم الحديث مع المسؤولين اللبنانيين هل شمل نزع سلاح حزب الله عن كافة الأراضي اللبنانية أم فقط من جنوب الليطاني؟
Well, I think it's important. I mean, we can start with the South, obviously, because we want to make the appropriate steps. But again, disarming Hezbollah throughout the whole country is their obligation under UN 1701. That's almost 20 years old now. So this is not a new conversation. I think that we have a moment in time and an opportunity, but it's not going to last forever, right? You're not going to have years on end to do this. So to the people who think that they can delay or kick the can down the road, I don't think the Lebanese people want excuses anymore. I think they want to take their country back.
الدولة اللبنانية أكدت التزامها بحصر السلاح بيدها، لكنها طالبت بفترة زمنية لإنضاج الظروف. هل تحدثتم مورغان مع المسؤولين في لبنان متى تكون هذه الظروف مناسبة وملائمة لنزع سلاح حزب الله؟
You know, we didn't talk about a specific timeline. We did talk about metrics to getting towards that ultimate goal. You know, listen, I'm very cognizant and very understanding of counterterrorism and what it takes. The United States, you know, we started after 9/11 looking at extremist ideologies that happened, you know, whenever 9/11 happened in our country. And so, you know, I, soon after 9/11, after I finished college, started working on these issues. So I certainly understand that it's not like we're ever going to be able to get rid of extremist ideologies. I get that, obviously, but what you are going to be able to get rid of extremist ideologies. I get that, obviously, but what you can do is work towards demilitarizing and de-radicalizing societies, and it's possible. You know, I just met with the Egyptian foreign minister this morning, and we were talking about how they were able to do that in their country with the Muslim Brotherhood. Look at what's happening in Saudi Arabia, right, under the king and, of course, the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, who has been just so effective and radically transforming that country. And he's done it responsibly and soberly. So for anybody in Lebanon who thinks, oh, it takes time, we can't do it, we're scared of this, scared of that, you know, sometimes you just have to break off the shackles that have been put on you and move forward. You know, for both Egypt and Saudi Arabia at different points in their history, they've had to take these same steps and remove the extremism from within their country and move on. I think we're seeing Iraq making steps towards trying to do this as well. So ultimately, it's important to know from the perspective of the United States, you know, people often ask me to weigh in on this minister or that minister. And I say, you know, in the Trump administration, we're not doing that. This is an independent, sovereign nation. We will set outcomes and goals. We will work together as friends and partners. But ultimately, you can't have any more excuses. You can't blame it on Israel. You can't blame it on outside forces or this or that. You know, you either take your country back or you don't. Decline is a choice.
مورغان، المنطقة بأكملها تتغير، ليس فقط لبنان. إلى أي مدى ملف نزع سلاح حزب الله مرتبط بمصير المفاوضات الإيرانية الأمريكية والتي أخبرنا الرئيس ترامب بالأمس بأنها بدأت وستستأنف يوم السبت؟
So listen, in the Trump administration, the president instituted the max pressure campaign once again against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and countering the financing and aiding and arming of Hezbollah is, of course, a part of that strategy for the Trump administration. So I think you can't do one without the other. I don't know how you have peace and security and economic development and rebuild the country. When you talk to international donors, when you talk to our partners here in the Gulf, nobody wants to rebuild southern Lebanon for Hezbollah, right? They want to rebuild it for the people and for the state. So it's not you know, people often think it's an ultimatum. It's not. It's just reality. If you're going to rebuild the country, if you're going to make these reforms, there's a lot of economic reforms to be made, but part of rebuilding the country means excluding it from bad actors who want to undermine the state.
لكن تؤكدين بأنه مصير لبنان مرتبط بمصير المفاوضات.
I don't know how they couldn't be.
صندوق النقد الدولي يستهدف الشريان الأخير لحزب الله، اقتصاد الكاش. هل سيكون من السهل مورغان أن نخرج لبنان من هذا الاقتصاد اللي عاش عليه خلال السنوات الماضية؟
It definitely won't be easy. I think Lebanon has dug itself into quite a hole. But I do think that people, you know, if we see that this new cabinet, that this new government and the parliament are willing to take the tough actions, as I said, to take that strong medicine that we talked about required to change the country, then we will be there, the United States and our partners here in the Gulf. I think we'll all be there with an arm extended, a hand extended to help Lebanon. But I don't think there's unlimited patience in the Trump administration. You know, President Trump and our administration, we're focused on outcomes. We're focused on results. And no matter where this isn't particular just Lebanon. But if the president's not seeing outcome, if he's not seeing change, then we'll move on. You know, we're not demanding that they do anything. It's a choice. The choice is to partner with the United States, or the choice is to stay bankrupt. I hope you choose the United States.
خلينا انتقل معك مورغان إلى موضوع يؤرق اللبنانيين اليوم. ما مخاوفكم من ما يجري على الحدود السورية اللبنانية، وهل يمكن أن تنفجر الأوضاع الاتجاه الآخر؟
It's deeply concerning to us, obviously. That's something we watch closely, and we understand that this has taken a lot of time and attention. The LAF has had to dedicate a lot of time and attention to this issue, and it's not what anybody expected. So we obviously have a lot of conversations with the Lebanese government about this. In the United States and the Trump administration, we've taken our Syria policy formation a little bit slowly, impatiently. I'd say we're waiting and judging. We have been clear, I think, with the expectations that we have from al-Shara and his regime for what it would take for U.S. engagement, and we hope they engage. The United States has a clear interest in making sure that Iran doesn't return to Syria, and in making sure that ISIS is not able to reconstitute and be a threat to America, to the homeland, to Europe, or to anyone else in the Middle East. So we do have interest there. We have two very good friends. We have our NATO ally, Turkey. We have our other ally, Israel, and of course we have our deep partnership with Saudi Arabia. All of these countries, Lebanon, I mean, everybody has a vested interest in the outcome in Syria. It's been so tragic for the Syrian people. So I think it's one of those policies where we're taking a cautious approach, but we are, of course, as you said, paying a lot of attention to that border because we don't want a return of the smuggling and the oil revenues for Hezbollah into Lebanon.
يعني بنهاية المطاف مورغان، هل تتجه المنطقة إلى التهدئة أم إلى التصعيد مع بدء الحديث عن المفاوضات مع إيران؟
Well, we hope so. President Trump has talked about this since he became president, and we haven't even reached 100 days yet, so it's still quite early. But the president has said that he's extending the hand of diplomacy. The president said that he wants a peaceful resolution. You know, I've worked for Donald Trump in various capacities for a long time, and I can tell you his instinct is always, can I get a deal? Can I get a negotiation? Can I seek a peaceful resolution first? We know that, you know, other options of dealing with this would be catastrophic. The president's been very clear about that. So we really are coming to the table in good faith to find a resolution, to find a deal that would be palatable. Obviously, to President Trump, he's made very clear that Iran will not produce a nuclear weapon on his watch. He said that in the first term, and he said it now in the second term. So we have clear red lines and things that we stand behind. And we think it's important to stand behind that position, President Trump's position of Iran not obtaining a nuclear weapon, because we know that this region, I mean, if Iran obtained a nuclear weapon, it would catapult this region into chaos. You could see a nuclear arms race, you could see more uneasiness. I mean, we don't want this for any of our friends and partners in the region. So we're gonna try and do the best we can for President Trump and step up, and we'll see if the other side comes to the table with the same heart and openness that we do.
السؤال الأخير مورغان قبل ما أتركك، بعرف تماما أنك لم تتحدثي مع المسؤولين في لبنان عن موضوع التطبيع، لكن من بعد ما استمعنا السيد ويتكوف يقول بأنه التطبيع بين إسرائيل ولبنان وإسرائيل وسوريا بات قريبا أو أمر حقيقيا كما قال، ألا تعتقدين أن التنسيق اللي يجري بين اللجان اليوم يعتبر شكل من أشكال التطبيع؟
Well, the last time I was with you, I was very pregnant with the little girl. She's now 4, almost 4.5, and she had to crawl before she could walk, and she had to walk before she could run, and now she just runs. So listen, our hope is to keep the ceasefire, is to make sure that all parties are implementing the ceasefire. Our hope is to help rebuild southern Lebanon if the government, of course, makes the tough choices. That's what we're really focused on right now. It would be great to get, eventually, to get, you know, a deal, a border deal that both sides can live with, and that we can finally, you know, have some finality to things like the border and other issues that have plagued both Lebanon and Israel. So, you know, we're going to work on crawling first.
مورغان أورتاغوس، شكرا لقبولك دعوة سكاي نيوز عربية.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.